Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office or the weather center. And as we are tracking a big winter storm, nice outside, rain is finally done in my area because it's been a rough one here over the last couple of days. And that's why I haven't been able to make videos or do any streaming as far as weather goes across my area. But now that things have settled down, we have a big weather system that is going to be developing in the Midwest by tonight into the day tomorrow. In fact, some parts of that are already shaping up already over the northern plains and the Great Lakes. And then there's another system down here, and there's going to be a big system. It's going to be serious. We're talking 1 to 2 feet of snowfall. And so in this live stream, we are going to get into how much snowfall will you see, and then talk about the severe weather for the deep south tomorrow, because there is going to be the risk for strong tornadoes across Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas, with also a risk for big time flooding, very serious flooding over western Tennessee. So boy, there is a lot to get through in this live stream, and probably gonna take me at least an hour to explain everything because there is truly a lot to talk about. So to start off things, we are looking at the NAM model here. This is the North American Meso model that I always like looking at. This is our convective allowing model. So instead of just using the GFS or other global models that are not as high resolution, when we get closer into such events like this, we start using our high-res models on what they're actually painting a picture of. So when we go into this afternoon, this is what we have right now going on. We've got some snow that is falling across Wisconsin, northern Illinois, as well as Minnesota. And then you might think that that's not a whole lot to cover, right, as far as this winter storm goes, but it's going to expand. This is going to grow enormously throughout the course of 24 to 36 hours. So as we go into tomorrow or late tonight into the morning hours tomorrow, this is your morning commute. And oops, let me bring that up. Forgot to switch scenes. Used to looking at the satellite. There we go. We got a lot of heavy snowfall that is going to be developing all the way from Pennsylvania into Michigan, into Wisconsin, and then back over into Iowa. So for your morning commute is looking awfully dicey, very hazardous to wake up in the morning and to find yourself seeing some snow. And then look at some of these areas over here in Columbus, Ohio, southern Ohio, even in northern Indiana. You're looking at about a tenth to almost a quarter of an inch of ice for your morning commute tomorrow. So pretty dangerous, all right? Something to not commute in at all. Tomorrow's just a day to stay home. Actually, no one commutes. See, my days are mixed up. My days are all thrown up because of our winter storm that we recently had. Haven't gotten a whole lot of sleep, so my days are truly mixed up. But yeah, tomorrow, unless you are commuting for your Saturday, it's going to be an okay one if you just stay home. But if you're out there commuting in this, it can be very dangerous, very hazardous, strong winds, colder temperatures. We're talking heavy snowfall. And then down to the south here, we're talking ice. And then south of that, we're talking about serious rainfall totals over Arkansas, Tennessee, into Kentucky, southern Indiana. That's what this thumbnail illustrates. So when you click on this video and watch the live stream here, you would clicked on the red area, and then there's a blue area, and there it separates two different parts of the system that we will be covering in this live stream. So as we go forward here into the day tomorrow for your Saturday, this goes into the northeast. We're talking pretty good snowfall totals here over downtown New York, into upstate New York, Buffalo, Watertown, Syracuse, Albany, New York. And then, yes, over here in Pennsylvania, we are talking about sleet and freezing rain. So you guys have had a lot of ice recently, and you're going to see more. It's going to continue to be a problem. over and over again, you're seeing repeated ice storms in the same areas. So if you haven't lost your power yet, I think with all the ice that has accumulated over the course of the last week, I think we will see more significant power outages with this event, especially in central, southeastern Pennsylvania, where I think we are going to see a lot of ice develop here, where some areas could get up to a quarter of an inch of ice. Then down to the south here, this heavy rainfall continues, and then we'll get to the severe weather here in a second. But wow, this constant stream of moisture anchoring all the way from southeastern Missouri, all the way into Kentucky, southern Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, into much of the eastern seaboard here of the mid-Atlantic, dealing with that constant fetch of moisture. And this is surprisingly quite similar to what California was dealing with yesterday, actually, well, overnight yesterday, dealing with that moisture plume really just stalled out. So this is one heck of an impactful storm. And then guess what? Then the second piece of this really develops. So you have your first piece that goes through, and then the second piece is really the big one. This is going to be for Sunday morning. Take a look at this. We're talking moderate to heavy snowfall. Snowfall rates of at least 3/4 of an inch an hour, maybe up to an inch an hour, depending on what part of the storm you are in. And surprisingly, right up in here, we have a 10-to-1 ratio. So while we are going to see 2 feet of snow, that's 2 feet of wet snow that's going to accumulate up here in Toronto, in Canada. Okay, I think I got that right. And then, of course, in the backside of the system, when you're looking at moderate to heavy snowfall with this. So, I mean, there's one piece to this, that this is not the main event. This is kind of the appetizer, if you will. That's Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. Then there might be a brief, well, I don't know if you call it really a lull, a weakening in the precipitation rates for Saturday night into Sunday. And then it's game on as we go into Sunday morning. In fact, Sunday morning is looking like a extremely impactful day. Now, if I had my weather products activated in this area, there would be storm warnings out, okay? You saw that on my Twitter. I have 3 categories: storm watch, storm warning, extreme storm warning. This would be a class 2 in Indiana, maybe even a class 3 up here in Canada with extreme storm warnings, because you're looking at a lot of snowfall and that sort of thing. And then even extreme storm watches or warnings out here across Pennsylvania and New York, because there's going to be a lot of ice accumulation here on the NAM model. Look at all the purple there. Okay, so Sunday morning, a stormy day. Saturday and Sunday for the weekend, entire weekend, not looking good if you are east of Missouri and east of Iowa and east of Texas and Oklahoma. If you're in the high plains, not going to be a huge bit of a problem, other than maybe some gusty winds and some colder temperatures. And then this continues all the way. Let's go fast forward this all the way to early Monday morning. So this would be right around 1 o'clock in the morning, and we are talking lake effect snow. Another enemy behind this system, because we're going to get some very cold air in the wake of this cold front as this moves off into Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and Newfoundland and the Labrador of Canada, into Greenland, which, by the way, Greenland is going to experience one of their worst windstorms in at least 20 or 30 years. We will be looking at that at the very end of this live stream, because it's not really anything that is important to a lot of us that are watching this in the United States. But yeah, for a lot of you that do live in southern Greenland, brace yourself. It's going to be a stormy one for Saturday into Sunday as that system really gets going and develops. It's not really this system. It's a system out here that's going to really be developing. Okay, so very dynamic system. Also, nice good cold front here. Nice good warm air advection here being pulled in from the south along the coast here. So some very high winds are expected along the coast this weekend, and we'll get to the wind forecast here right there. All right, so now looking at the snowfall amounts, now because there is some discrepancies amongst the models and the high-res guidance, we are going to use the national blend of models, which is a blend of all of the reliable models to put into a super blend. And what we are looking at here is a rough estimation average of how much snowfall you could expect. So with the first impulse of snow, okay, so remember we have 2 coming right here, okay? So through Saturday, this is what you're looking at, anywhere between 3 to 5 inches of snow, and then we are going to see additional snowfall. Let's go all the way out here to Monday and Tuesday. We're looking at anywhere between about 6 to 12 inches of snowfall in central Michigan, and the 1 to 2 feet of snowfall is going to be found up here in Canada. So southern Quebec, southern Ontario, Canada. You're looking at anywhere between 12 to 18 inches, maybe up to 2 feet or so in some of these isolated locations. Remember, this is going to be your 10-1 ratio, maybe 10-12 ratio. So in other words, 1-12. 12-1. Sorry, I got my numbers mixed up. 12-1 ratio or 10-1. So for every 12 inches of snow you get 1 inch of QPF or quantitative precipitation amounts, or water equivalent, in other words. So that's what you're looking at with this storm. Good snow producer. If you love the snow, you're going to love living in Michigan, in Canada. Looking good. Thumbs up, 7 up on that one, and maybe more additional snowfall for New Jersey and for portions here of New England. Actually, New England going to get a lot of snow, maybe a foot or so over the course of the next 2 to 3 days. So now, the ice amounts here are a bit concerning, and this is not your first, your second, or your third ice storm. This is now your 4th ice storm in nearly a couple of weeks. We have been having this very active weather pattern with repeated storms coming in from the southwest, moving into the northeast, and what you get is, remember that flow. Remember this, folks, okay? When we get this northwesterly flow, we don't get very intense snowstorms in the Midwest unless they're dynamic to begin with. But if we get storms or a jet stream that looks more like this, where it comes in out of the southwesterly direction, what you're doing is you're pulling in warmer air off the Gulf of America. Yes, that's a new term in this video or in these live streams. You're going to hear me say that now. Gulf of America, not Gulf of Mexico anymore. So it's going to pull in warmer air off the Gulf, and it's going to merge up with this colder air coming in out of the north. Because remember, each of these systems, as they go this way, all right, they're going to pull in colder air and then warmer air. So what we end up seeing is more dynamic setups, a threat for ice with these storms, threat for heavy snow, threat for heavy rainfall included with that. And so what we have here, in this case, lots of ice accumulation here, and not just on land, over Lake Erie, getting some ice. And you probably wonder, how can ice accumulate on Lake Erie? Well, geez, I wonder why ice is going to accumulate on Lake Erie. Well, it's because the lake is frozen. It's all frozen right now. And it's going to remain that way because we got another Arctic invasion coming by the early part of this week into the middle of the week as well. And look at here, we got more ice coming for Pennsylvania, New York, populated areas, to be quite honest. We're looking at anywhere between about a 5/100ths of an inch, maybe up to a 1/10 of an inch of ice in these areas. Now, there's a couple of areas that are prone to some ice, like some isolated areas, right in here that I have circled in black. You might see 4/10 of an inch of ice with this upcoming winter storm. So certainly power outages will be the thing. Glaze of ice over Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. Southern Michigan, like Detroit, Michigan, you're likely to see at least a glaze or so of ice expected with this winter storm. So it's not just the snow. You're going to be contending with the sleet as well. In fact, as we go and look at sleet amounts here, this is what you are going to see. Now, this is based on the NAM because the National Blend of Models, nor does the National Weather Service model show this. we have to rely on our NAM model, unfortunately, which is not entirely accurate, but it gives us a representation that it's not just the snow or freezing rain you're going to see. It's also going to be the sleet you're going to have to contend with this winter storm. So what we have here is across the extreme northeast here, we're looking at anywhere between about 1/4 of an inch, maybe up to an inch of sleet accumulations. Now, some of these numbers are very aggressive. We're not going to see 7 inches of sleet. There's no way that's going to happen. We're probably going to extrapolate, or we are going to extrapolate that down to at least an inch or so in some of these areas. So enough to cause some road and travel problems. And some of you are probably wondering, what is sleet? I explain that a lot in these videos. All right. So what sleet actually is think of, well, let me better explain this. So what sleet actually is, it's ice pellets falling onto the ground. So onto the street, onto your car, your mailbox, your roof, whatever you want to think about it, even your animal, your pet, including yourself. It's ice pellets. It's not to be confused with graupel, which is found in severe thunderstorms typically, and also not to be confused with hail, which can be found in supercells. So in other words, this is basically frozen rain that has frozen in the air before it reaches the ground. So this is the sort of thing that doesn't cause problems to power lines or any infrastructure damage. But what it does cause problems to is road travel and flight travel because, well, you can't have ice on airplanes, on the airframe, because it's going to cause a lot of problems with their flaps and everything. And not only that, if it accumulates on the roads, well, your car's going to go sliding because it's ice on the ground, right? It's common sense. Now, when you get freezing rain, it's liquid water when it falls through the sky into a very cold layer of air, and when it hits the surface, then that's when it flash freezes. Say it with me, folks, in the chat. Flash freezing. So when you get flash freezing, that's when you get freezing rain. So think about it. Like when water hits something, freezes instantaneously. It's activation time, right? When it hits a mailbox, when it hits a car, when it hits a sidewalk, your street, except your pet, because your pet is going to be warm enough to actually melt that ice off, and even your skin may freeze briefly on your skin, but it will melt instantaneously or won't even freeze at all because your skin is typically around 80 to 90 degrees, so it'll melt instantaneously, but you get the idea. When it accumulates on power lines and trees, that's when you get power outages. So freezing rain is an enemy. Things stick with freezing rain. Things don't stick on power lines or trees when it's sleet, if that makes sense. So let's take a look here at the flood risk, and I'm going to bring up a product here. We're going to bring up that in a second. So yes, there is going to be a lot of rainfall with this, and this is making some headlines nationally. My friend, not really my friend, but someone that I follow on YouTube named Mark Finan, he's out of Sacramento. He's been talking about this too, about there's going to be a lot of rain here in Indiana, as well as in Tennessee, especially Kentucky. My goodness, 5 inches of rainfall over the course of 60 hours. 60 hours. In fact, this is going to fall probably within 24 hours. So getting 4 to 6 inches of rainfall in 24 hours is certainly enough to lead to major river flooding, landslides, rock slides, and some of the steepest terrain down here. So it's not just the snow, the sleet, the freezing rain. We are going to be talking about some of the worst flooding in Kentucky and Kentucky and Tennessee state history, perhaps, in northeastern portion there of Arkansas. This is a big concern, all right? And so just like California, we got our fair share of heavy rainfall. There were a lot of flood reports, some landslides, rock slides in Southern California because of our last system. This is going to be similar now, but in the Ozarks, in the Appalachians, we're talking serious rainfall totals out of this winter storm. In fact, you know what? This kind of reminds me of living in California. You all are going to literally feel like you're in California getting a lot of rainfall, only that it's temperature-wise actually going to be pretty similar. So with temperatures in the 40s and 50s and even in the low 60s. So it's going to feel very much like California with the weather that we just recently happened. Strong winds, you can bet on that as well. And yes, down here, big time severe weather. We'll get to that in a separate discussion here in a second. But yeah, lots of heavy rainfall. Therefore, let me go to the beta version of Pivotal Weather. And this time, we get to zoom in on things. So there is a high risk down here. Okay, so this is northwestern Tennessee. This is Kentucky, so western half of Kentucky, under a high risk for flooding. This is a 70% chance for significant flooding on major rivers, large creeks, street flooding, urban flooding, you name it. There's going to be a lot of impacts with this. Now, let's go into southern Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, which is right here, Cincinnati, Ohio, which is right here. You're looking at a slight risk for heavy rainfall and flooding. Southern Ohio, West Virginia, but western half of the Western Virginia state, you're looking at a moderate risk for heavy rainfall, okay? But really, it's this area, and it paints a good picture of what we looked at on our national blended model, showing us up to 6 inches of rainfall, maybe even more than what models are showing here. So there is going to be substantial flooding. Nashville, Tennessee is over here. Mayfield, Kentucky is down and over in here. Looking at some big time flooding. Some of the worst, again, in a few years at least. Probably even longer than that. So please take this seriously, folks. Flooding is nature's number one killer. Water can sweep cars into embankments. This is going to be a big problem. Okay, if you encounter flooded roadways, it doesn't matter if it's 2 inches deep. I know the road very well. I know I'm going to get across. Because you don't know. No one knows, well, not that no one knows about flooding, but do not underestimate how powerful water is. Okay, water is much more denser than air is, which explains why get down to like 30 feet. Okay, if you dive into a pool or into the ocean, you get down to 30 feet. That's 1 atmosphere of air that you're water that you're consuming when you convert it over, right? Goes to show you how dense water is, which is why water doesn't float in the sky. There's no water in the air right now. Well, there is water, but it's very teeny tiny. It's microscopic particles. We call that relative humidity, but I mean, it's not like big water droplets are mysteriously floating in the air. No, water's heavy enough to where it will find the lowest place. So when it accumulates, in a pond and that pond overflows, that water has to go somewhere, right? It's going to flow over a road, maybe a bridge, maybe into your street, and might even flow into your house. And if it gets into your house, that's when we get a lot of damage. A lot of people panicking. I can't get out. I'm flooded. Okay, we do not need any water rescues. So that's going to be the thing with this winter storm. Big time flooding out of this. All right, in fact, let me actually go to the National Weather Service really quickly and let me see what the flood watch is calling for. There's Mayfield right in there. See with what they're actually saying. Let me go to full screen. Yeah, see, up to 5 inches are forecasted. Let me see if I find another area here. 3 to 5 inches. Yeah, look at this. Tennessee could see between 6 and 8 inches of rainfall. All right, so that's serious. Within a 24 to 36 hour period, 8 inches of rainfall. All right, let's just put this into perspective. Let's go back to December 31st, 2022. If my memory serves properly, 2022, on December the 31st, here in my location, we had 4 inches of rainfall. Streets were flooded. The underpass at Highway 99 was filled with 15 feet of water. Yeah, that's what 4 inches does, right? When things don't work well, when water flows or piles up everywhere else, it can be a problem. Now let's put 8 inches into the equation here. 8 inches of rain in a short amount of time. Yeah, you bet that's going to cause a lot of problems. All right, so anywhere here, Mayfield, Paducah, Hopkinsville. Let me zoom in here. Actually, we could work our magic here by using. Hold on. Weather hazards. That's what I want. And let's go over. I thought that they gave us state sectors. So right down in here, yeah, this is not going to give us cities. So I'm going to use this because this is very important. I mean, flooding is nature's #1 killer. So you can see here, Paducah, Mayfield. By the way, we all remember the December 10th Mayfield tornado. That was pretty substantial. That was I believe, still an EF5 tornado. We all remember that night. Hopkinsville, Madisonville, Owensboro in Kentucky under flood watches. I mean, pretty serious. And look at some of the rivers, flood warnings. We're talking rivers that are already flooding now, and we're talking more flooding on top of that. So, I mean, we could be seeing some of the worst flooding. Okay, and I would not be surprised if this is even historic in some of these rivers. The largest rivers, I don't think we'll see historic flooding, but some of the smaller rivers will see historic flooding. I truly believe. In fact, let me go to the River Forecast Center. See if this is going to give us something. All right, let's go down here. Ohio River Forecast Center. And I want to see what some of the rivers will show. Okay. All right, yeah, here we are. So, yeah, so there are some rivers specifically over here. Green River. Let's look at Green Rivers. Let's see how high that's going to go. Yeah, see, this is moderate flood stage right here. So this is expected to reach moderate flood stage. This is the Green River at Paradise. This is in Kentucky. And we're looking at a peak here. Now, this is the forecast, but if we get any more rain, that gets a little higher, of course. But we're looking at moderate flood stage for pretty much, yeah, literally for an entire week almost. This is going to really be a problem. So if you are prone to river flooding, this is really bad. This is pretty considerable. And then here's another one. This is going to be reaching, okay, so this is the observed. So this is, what is this? What river is this? South Fork Little River at Hopkinsville, bypass Kentucky. And you can see here, it's no flooding now, but look what happens. This really comes up pretty quickly to major flood stage. So if you are prone to minor flooding in your area, you will be completely flooded with this. This would be by Saturday. Yeah, so by this weekend, this really comes up pretty quickly. So that's going to be the concern going forward, that some of these rivers will reach major flood stage. And that is why the Weather Prediction Center strictly has that out. Because of how much rainfall you're expecting. One more look at this. This is another river. This is, what river is this? This is Green River at Calhoun Lock and Dam, Kentucky. This is going to reach major flood stage on Sunday, or moderate flood stage, and then could get pretty close here to major flood stage by Tuesday and Wednesday next week. So, yeah, most of these rivers will be at moderate to major flood stage by the weekend. And that is because, well, you're going to see 8 inches of rain in some areas, and 8 inches of rain will do a lot to your neighborhood. Okay, so now that we talked about some of the rivers, we'll get back to that when we get to questions, because, yeah, I'm pretty concerned about how bad this is going to get, especially, again, what are the areas that are highlighted in that high risk. So now, another concern with this winter storm will be the strong, powerful winds that come with it, okay? Especially for the deep south. Right down here, we're looking at gusts between 35 to 40 miles an hour, maybe up to 45 in the southeast. And then when we get into the northeast, some areas here can see wind gusts between 45 to 55 miles an hour. Some of the higher elevations possibly getting close to 60 miles an hour with this winter storm. And then right along here, specifically, you might get gusts over 50 miles an hour. So when you get wind gusts over 60 or 45 to 50, you start losing trees, things come down, property damage results because of those winds, and that causes problems usually when you get wind gusts that strong, especially with a rapidly deepening system that moves up in this general direction. You start pulling in southerly winds here, onshore flow, high surf along the coast here of south-facing beaches too could be the thing. All right, so now that we talked about the wind, that's going to be the thing. So we talked about the snow, we talked about the flooding, freezing rain, that shenanigans, and now we talked about the high winds that are anticipated. In fact, let's actually look at this really quickly from a deterministic forecast standpoint. Let's go back here, which also, by the way, winds are going to be pretty strong coming offshore as well. So you can see onshore flow going to be advecting those winds northward. Look at these. This is sustained winds 40 to 50 knots, perhaps, and that's going to translate to wind gusts, of course. And when we look at those wind gusts, there it is in this 40s and 50s along the coast there, maybe getting close to 60 miles an hour. And then the winds do remain pretty strong even offshore as we go into Monday. So yeah, some very strong winds. Damaging winds probably through Tuesday for sure with this winter storm. The reason why this happens is when we take a look at our surface low, a surface low will rapidly develop out of the high plains, out of the New Mexico plateau on Saturday. As we move this forward, we can see that surface low deepens gradually, and then it deepens much faster as we go into Sunday and into Monday. So it starts off here at about 1,000 millibars by about 7 p.m. on Saturday. And then 24 hours later, not even 24 hours later, this gets all the way down to even 970 millibars. Actually, yeah, 974. That's a bombing cyclone right there. You drop the pressure by about 25-ish millibars. That's pretty strong. And it gets all the way down to 970 millibars up here in Maine. And actually, let's go to New England so I can show you that. There's your 970 millibars, and that's going to result in a tightening pressure gradient. And the tighter the gradient, the stronger the winds are going to be. And that's with any system, right? You can see divergent flow aloft, better upper level dynamics. And that's going to result in pressure falls. That's going to result in lift in the atmosphere. And that lift is in the form of isotropic ascent. And that's going to cause a lot of the heavy snowfall on the northern side. In fact, 500 millibar winds here within this baroclinic boundary that sets up here in the right front quadrant of a negatively tilted trough. Winds could exceed 115 knots over the southeast here and the mid-Atlantic. That's enough to get cyclogenesis going pretty quickly. I think we all agree with that one, right? Let's take a look here at the 500 millibar vorticity, which is a scientific word of showing how much upper level energy there is. Better vorticity advection here is better upper level dynamics. And so when we move this forward into Sunday and into Monday, look at that upper level support moving into the northeast, and that's going to really lift the atmosphere. That's going to really squeeze out all that moisture in the form of snow on the colder side and a lot of rainfall. And that's why this system in particular is a storm of concern, because we're going to be looking at these stronger winds. And again, look at how quick this deepens. This is going to be a monster once it gets into the northeast. Let's see what this looks like on satellite. Simulated satellite. So as we move forward here, of course, there's your convection. And then what we look for here is a baroclinic leaf. See how this kind of bends back like this? See that, folks? That's a maturing cyclone. So when we, in meteorological terms, when we refer to baroclinic leaves, we look for lots of cyclostrophic ascent, lots of air moving upward here, and a maturing cyclone. And that's exactly what ends up happening here, especially when we get colder air coming in out of the north. We get warm air out ahead of this. Yeah, the dynamics are going to be insane with this. And so that is why we are dealing with some high winds with this. Damaging winds perhaps in some of the higher elevations. Like Mount Washington could have wind gusts, might have wind gusts over 100 miles an hour. In fact, let me see if I could find Mount Washington here. Mount Washington. I haven't looked at it in a while, so I hope I could find it without a problem. Okay, sorry, I am not. Okay, White Mountains. Maybe it's White Mountain. No, it's Mount Washington. It has to be Mount Washington, right? I wish you could able to. Okay, Mount Washington, New Hampshire. That's what I want. So Mount Washington right here. Yeah, look at this. 105 mile an hour winds Sunday night. Holy cow. Talk about wind. Talk about wind. I'm telling you, that's going to be pretty substantial. Hey, can you guys do me a favor? Can you guys go hiking up that and take some photos? No, don't do it. Don't do it. It's going to be really cold, a low of -4. How does that feel? That feels good, doesn't it? With wind gusts over 105 miles an hour. Yeah, that's going to burn your skin. That's going to, like, literally, it's going to be pretty dangerous out there. I'm telling you. Mount Washington, and the way Mount Washington is situated, the winds funnel through that mountain like nothing else. In fact, Mount Washington is known for its winds being the strongest winds, actually. You thought Heavenly Valley, Bear Valley was strong in the Sierra. This mountain takes a cake of the strongest winds, actually. Yeah, so right in that location, you get some serious winds. Over 105 miles an hour. Who could ever imagine that? That's category 2 force wind gusts that are going to be shaping up with that. And that's because of the storm. You're very welcome, Walter. I do appreciate it. But yeah, just to review with this winter storm that we talked about, yeah, this thing is going to be an enemy. And I will be streaming live on this tomorrow. Yes, definitely tomorrow will be a streaming day when I get home from work, which will be 2 o'clock. I'm planning to go live at about 4, and we'll be live for several hours tomorrow, tracking this winter storm, probably through at least 10 o'clock tomorrow night. We will be live because this is going to be a serious system. Okay, so now that we talked about that, let's talk about the severe weather. Did I cover everything that we needed to hear about as far as this, the winter storm side of things, everyone? Did I miss anything? Please let me know in chat, and then we will move on. I always like asking you all because if I did forget anything, that's a problem. And then we will talk about the Arctic air after the severe weather. So, yes, there's a lot. And I told you guys, I warned you all that there's going to be a lot to talk about tonight. 3 subjects. I covered everything? Great. If I covered everything, folks, slap that like button and slap the subscribe button as well if I covered everything. Because you guys, at the end of the day, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy doing it. Even so, I haven't been doing much at all in the last few days, and that's just because our weather here has been so disruptive that, yeah, it's really been a distraction to me. I'm glad it's over. I'm really glad, and I'm back in full peace. All right, now to the severe weather. The severe weather is going to be a huge concern. Mainly, what I'm thinking is, I'll give you all my opinion here in a little bit. But as we go into tomorrow, there is going to be a severe weather event, not an outbreak. If you've read people's posts on Twitter, and Ethan was actually telling me last night, Ethan B, because we have our Thursday night conversations. Some people in the weather community have said this is going to be a severe weather outbreak. No, I don't think it's going to be a severe weather outbreak at all. And I will explain why here as we look at the radar. Okay, I disagree with them. I think this is not going to go moderate because some people in the weather community said, oh, this is going to be a moderate risk or even a high risk. No, it's not. For a high risk to even verify or to actually happen, there's got to be a lot of things that come together, and things are not going to overlap entirely volatile for that. So a high risk is not happening. People will say that still, of course, because there are those people that want attention because people are severe weather deprived. There has not been severe weather really so far this season much at all. And you guys are like, when are we going to get severe weather? And so you're going to hear a lot of this hype that, oh, we're going to have a high risk or we're going to have a moderate risk. No, there's not going to be a moderate, maybe a slim chance, like a 1 or 2% chance we're going to have a moderate risk out of this. But for sure, we have an enhanced risk, and a high risk is not expected. So get high risk out of your guys' brains because it's not going to happen. All right, so HRRR for tomorrow, this line gets going. This is for the early afternoon hours. Actually, let's back it out here. This is for 1 in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. This is going to be a line in. Look at the messiness. This is not very organized. A lot of blotchiness, a lot of messiness to the convective mode here. And there's not going to be a whole lot of supercellular activity because we're not looking at a lot of lift out in the free warm sector out of this system. Unlike other systems, we would see a lot of convection, a lot of supercellular nature type storms in the free warm sector. This is not going to happen because of the positively tilted trough that is going to be negotiating with this. And so you're just not looking at a whole lot of lift. And you know what? That's fine. You know, a lot of the lift can be saved for the cold front itself. So as we go forward, you can see there is not a whole lot of supercellular activity. So don't be surprised if people are streaming on this at, say, 9 in the morning and hoping to get supercells because there's not going to be a whole lot of supercellular activity out ahead of the line, like not way out in here or out in here. Some shallow convection maybe in progress there in Louisiana, in Mississippi, but most of this is going to be confined to this cold front, all right, where we are going to see some semi-discrete storms, like literally a few miles out ahead, so like supercells here and maybe here, but not over here. But what you want to see for a moderate risk or a high risk is storms to form well out ahead of this. A more dynamic situation where you get a front that looks like this, where you get a warm front that looks kind of like that, okay? Where you get this really good wind backing. You need southeasterly winds at the surface, and then you get these southwesterly winds aloft, and that's where you get more directional and speed shear and better ingredients and dynamics for severe weather. In this case, this is a very different setup. We're not seeing that. We're seeing actually southwesterly winds out ahead of this. And then you see winds doing this aloft. So there's not much veering winds with this setup. And so what you end up seeing is you do see some rogue supercells down here that do try to fire up. And these would be the ones of most concern for a chance for a strong tornado or two, but look at how much clustering of storms there's going to be. Okay, what we look for is discrete cells. So if we had something that looks like this, right? Let me just paint a picture. If we had a supercell here, 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 and here, and here, and here, kind of like all these little red marks are like little supercells, right? Little curvature kind of things, right? This is what we would look for a prolific tornado outbreak, all right? Instead, we have a mess. This, like the HRRR has been constantly showing a mess of too many supercells, probably enough here to at least to contaminate one another. And if we get contamination of these supercells, not going to go well. It's not going to go well. It happens all the time. So, therefore, a 10 sig for tornadoes is probable at this point, but even that's a little bit on the high end for me. I think a 5% risk for tornadoes, at least a small 10%, maybe up in here in the Louisiana, Mississippi area, is best noted for at least 1 or 2 strong tornadoes tomorrow. But even that's probably going a little on the high end side. And then you got your cold front. And watch how that surges out. Look how this bows out like this. This is going to turn into more of a wind damage threat once it gets into eastern Mississippi, into Alabama, into northern Georgia. And forget about it up here. This is a nice, good squall line. Damaging winds out within that line, but no spin up. That's very laminar and smooth. This is more agitated down here, so we may get a QLCS tornado here and there tomorrow night. And this is going to be moving through pretty fast. This is in no hurry of moving slow at all. Be racing along at least 40 or 50, maybe even 60 miles an hour. And that's why you're going to see damaging winds perhaps exceeding 60 miles an hour at times within this line. And so as we move this forward, this is 5 p.m. tomorrow, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. It gets into Jacksonville, Mississippi. Okay. And then it moves into, let me make sure I got that right. I felt like Jackson, not Jacksonville, Jackson, Mississippi. See, I got my states and cities mixed up here. Long day, I guess. So it gets there at around 11 p.m. in Jackson, Mississippi, and then moves into northern Alabama and then Birmingham, Alabama by about 2 in the morning with that heavy rainfall and strong winds. And then that moves into the eastern seaboard as it weakens because instability is going to be on the decrease. All right, a lot of the instability is going to be found, and I'll show you that here in a split second. So again, my opinion, my personal opinion on this, maybe at least 1 strong tornado, at least, at the very most right now, is what I'm forecasting. Maybe 2 strong tornadoes. Of course, we'll probably see a few or more than a few tornadoes that are non-significant or strong. Of course, these QLCS tornadoes spin up briefly, and then they just kind of rope out, and then that's the end of it, right? And then they develop again. We're going to see things like that tomorrow where we get these quick bursts of activity, and then it, boop, goodbye, see you next time, and then it does it again. And then you can see here, very laminar. This is, again, 7 p.m. So actually, I'm going to be off of work at 2 p.m. This is really not going to get started until the later afternoon hours, I believe. We may have, again, a tornado or 2 early on, but it's going to really begin here at around, say, 8 and 9 o'clock tomorrow night with that threat, okay? Okay, so now that we talked about that, now what are the ingredients coming together for such an event like this? So, of course, we're going to have warm air advection amidst a strengthening 850 millibar jet, advecting that warmer air northward along a warm front that's going to be draped across southern Tennessee into Alabama. And you can see how this gets sharper. Then eventually that warm front glides its way up into central and northern Tennessee and then is really sharp and well defined here in the southeastern Arkansas area. So yes, areas north of that front stay in the 40s and low 50s tomorrow, but areas south of here going to warm up into the the upper 60s to lower 70s and pushing 80 degrees down here in Louisiana by the mid and late afternoon hours. And so you can see this warm front. That's going to be right here. It kind of breaks off right in here. We get that warm front that's going to be also draped into central Georgia. South of that, temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Got 80s in, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, going to be in the mid-70s tomorrow. A nice day until the severe weather swings its way through. And then watch what happens here. Colder air initially from this front is going to bring in cooler air behind it. Rain-cooled air, evaporative cooling. So you're going to see temperatures drop into the mid to upper 50s behind the front. And then here comes the colder air behind that. So yeah, you're going to wake up with temperatures in the mid to upper 30s. How about that? That's pretty chilly from your temperatures that are in the 80s. In fact, yeah, even in southern Louisiana, going to be down in the upper 40s after warming up into the 80s during the day tomorrow. So what a big flip in our temperatures that will occur in response to this. Not only that, we're going to have plenty of actually, let me go to dew points. And that relates to our instability forecast. So our dew points, which measure on, and let me simply explain this as good as I can. That's what these live streams are for. So say your dew point is 55 degrees. Okay, let's just imagine for a second. Stop and think. 55-degree dew point, but your air temperature is 60 degrees. So that means air is not fully saturated. So the dew point temperature is at which 100% humidity is reached, which means that the atmosphere cannot hold any more water because it could hold as much water as it could. That's why the warmer it is, well, the more water is able to be held into the atmosphere, okay? And so these dew points tell us, is the air moist? Is it dry? Is it cold and dry? Is it cold and moist? Or is it warm and moist? So when we put this into motion, you can see these dew points will be climbing tomorrow into the mid to upper 60s across Mississippi, into much of southwestern Tennessee, Alabama, into Louisiana. Some dew points, 70-degree dew points, might even advect into southern Louisiana and even southern Alabama by tomorrow afternoon. And so that's going to introduce instability because we have steepening lapse rates aloft, cooler air, drier air aloft, overspreading this moist, warm sector. And what that's going to do is it's going to create instability. Now, there's a scientific word for this, convective allowing potential energy. It's just how much energy is in the air for thunderstorms when they develop. You heard it from Ryan Hall, y'all. You heard it from other people. It's basically medication for thunderstorms. It's jet fuel, octane fuel for storms to develop in. So the more energy you get in the atmosphere, the stronger the updrafts are going to be. So what's different about this is we're going to have instability right around 1,000 joules, maybe up to 1,500, which is, again, the unit of amount of energy. Versus with some of these more severe weather events, we could get up to 4,000 joules of instability, which is more energy. So in other words, the more energy you get in the atmosphere, the more violent these updrafts could be. And if they're discrete, you believe me, you would see strong tornadoes. Well, we will see strong tornadoes tomorrow or we will see a couple at least, one or two, because of the shear that we're going to get into in a second. And then that instability falls apart with eastward extents. So it's really going to be, I want to highlight this, it's really going to be from about 3 p.m., maybe 2 p.m. or so, between, not 2 p.m., 5 p.m., sorry, this is local time that I'm looking at here. That's the 2 p.m. that you see. This is Pacific Standard Time it's looking at. So 5 p.m. through about 11 p.m., I think, is the best opportunity here for the severest weather. And after 11 p.m. Central and Eastern Time, things will wind down as the instability gradually weakens with eastward extent. So let's take a look here at the zoomed in view here from the Storm Prediction Center. And what they have highlighted here is there is an enhanced risk for severe weather. Now, some of you are like, oh, they didn't issue a moderate. Why haven't they issued a moderate? It's because of the outline scenario that I put in, okay, that I showed you all. Talking about a linear fashion here, a QLCS squall line event. We're not talking a lot about rogue supercells miles downstream of this line. If anything, we might get a pickerating storm left and right, maybe one, maybe two, but gonna largely be conditionally stable out there tomorrow because we're not looking at a whole lot of lift or ascent overspreading that open warm sector until the later afternoon hours once that colder air, that cold front that we just outlined, moves into the Mississippi, the Miss-Latex, or not the Miss-Latex, the Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas. That's what I was looking for. So there is an enhanced risk here because of that reasoning, okay? Which is good. We do not want a moderate risk. We do not want a high risk, folks. We do not want to wish for the worst severe weather outbreak in history. We do not need that. We do not need fatalities. We do not need people freaking out and panicking, okay? An enhanced risk is bad enough. Now, if it weren't for the enhanced risk, this would be a moderate, because what come in the olden outlook back in 2000, back in the late 1900s, like 1995, 1997, you know this, right? They used to have marginal, slight, moderate, and high until I think it was like 10 or 15 years ago, they introduced, actually more than about 15 years ago, they introduced the enhanced risk, which is basically a patch, which is kind of a fail-safe. Instead of just going straight to moderate after slight, they put this extra categorical outlook in between that. So this is a level 1 right here, level 2, and a level 3 right here in Mississippi, which is bad enough. I mean, this is kind of a higher end one. Let's take a look. Tornado risk for tomorrow. We are looking at, again, that 10 sig for tornadoes. Now, I think this is where they have this is pretty good. I think right in here is where I think we're going to have our best shot at seeing at least a tornado or two in this narrow corridor where we have the better dynamics that overlap before this thing surges more eastward and the front outruns more of the instability and it becomes more outflow dominant. But tomorrow, yeah, strong tornado or two is anticipated. Now, just because you're in a 10 sig, you're inside the 10 sig does not mean you will see a strong tornado in every little corner of this. This is outlining that based on model guidance, based on things coming together, there is a chance, a 10% significant chance that a tornado that could be strong develops. It does not mean that, oh, I'm in a 10 sig, oh my gosh, I'm going to see strong tornadoes tomorrow. This could bust, it could overperform, or it may just go as predicted. Okay? Model guidance. This is basically telling you all that tomorrow's a day to watch. Tomorrow's a day to watch. Then you got your 5% over here in Tennessee, which, by the way, heavy rainfall, flooding, tornadoes, that sort of thing, not going to be, it won't end really well. Nashville, we got Memphis, Tennessee in the books of that. Looks like I drew eyes and maybe a little mouth. There we go. Drew a little mouth for you guys. And then down here for the deep south, like southern Mississippi, Alabama, a 5% risk for tornadoes have been issued. Okay, that's what the forecast calls for. Now for damaging winds, it's a mixed signal. It really is. I think the way the line looks right now and the limited amount of cold air rushing in right behind it might limit the damaging wind threat from being significant. But I would not be surprised if damaging winds are significant in this entire area right in here. I've circled that in black. So don't be surprised if this area gets upgraded eventually to a significant wind damage threat in later outlooks. That's the only thing that I'm going to be a little aggressive on just because of how this line out here, let me go back right to here, how this line actually progresses. See how this kind of bows out like that? It just kind of bows out like that with some semi-discrete QLCSs in there. Could enhance wind damage to an area. That is why I think the SPC might go a little higher on that for tomorrow. Especially, again, the areas that I circled in, northeastern Louisiana, southeastern Arkansas, and western and portions of northwestern Mississippi is in that. Now down here off towards the east into western Alabama, a need for a 30 sig not going to be likely at this given time. I don't see that happening. Going to probably more than likely maintain that 30% non-sig for damaging winds. Still in all, getting gusts up to 65 miles an hour are certainly a likelihood because of how high those chances are. And then further east than that, the chances come down ever so slightly. While this is only the day 3 outlook, let's go to the day, on day 2, this is day 3. There's day 3. And then 2%. So yeah, chances for anything significant on day 3, that will probably get upgraded to a slight risk. Probably warranted. More likely maybe for some hail and maybe a tornado or 2 down here in the deep the panhandle of Florida is all we would be seeing out of this for that area. So that's a look at that. Now, did I even show you guys hail? Oops, did I not show you all hail? There also will be a risk for some large hail in this. So there's that. What did I do with my damaging wind? Maybe I never had it selected. There we go. So there's tornadoes, there's wind, and now hail. So hail is looking like a 15% risk. And yeah, 15% risk that is for southeastern Arkansas. So like Little Rock, I'm going to include you all in that 15% risk for large hail, quarter-size hail, maybe locally larger, especially with initial convection that develops. And then northern Louisiana, western Mississippi has the best chances here of hail. Now, is it going to be significant? More than likely not. I don't think we're going to see maybe one instance of 2+ inch hail out of this storm, but mainly going to be quarter size at least, or maybe a little larger, maybe nearing half dollar size at most with this. This is your more typical mid-late February severe weather event. Nothing too unusual with this, but it's something to keep in mind, especially up here in Tennessee, where, let's go right here, where Memphis, Tennessee has strong tornadoes, strong damaging winds, and the risk for large hail. All 3 hazards with severe weather combined with the flooding, it's not going to end well. It really isn't. And if we look back here at that, let me overlap everything so I can just kind of pro quo that for you all. Oops. There we go. Oops. Where did it go? Oh, there we go. So, yeah, moderate to high risk for flooding, severe weather in that area. This is going to be a really big area I'm concerned about for a lot of impacts, significant impacts with severe weather and flooding combined. Okay, so that's that I'm concerned about. Okay, for the severe weather. Now, did I talk about that? Oh, you know what? I wanted to show you all some soundings. I'm only going to pick a few so I don't drag this on very much longer. Well, not super long at least. Let's go to... This is the beta version, by the way, of Pivotal Weather. So this is kind of all new to me. Just downloaded this today. Yes, I literally downloaded it. So let's go to here. And let's go down to the Deep South. Okay, this covers it really well. Yep, there's Arkansas right in here. Let's look at some severe weather parameters. Let's take a look here at our significant tornado parameter, which goes all the way up to a 10, which we do not want to see ever. Because if we do, that usually outlines a high risk of severe weather. Not always, but it typically does when things come together. So I'm just going to pick a few soundings right in here. So right where we have these locally higher STP values. So let me pick one down here in right within this enhanced risk for tornadoes. View sounding. So nice thing is I could zoom in on this actually. Actually, can I? I guess, yeah, I'm going to have to full screen this. My bad, folks. Sorry. So there we go. So you can see your dew point down here. This is your parcel line. So this white line basically shows us our virtual parcel lapse rate. So if you lifted a parcel, it'd be buoyant. It'd be unstable because it's on the right side of that. And then that's basically the basic fundamentals of soundings. This is your dew point line in green. Your red line is your virtual temperature lapse rate. And then your environmental lapse rate is this white line. Make sure I covered that. Your LCL stands for lifted condensation level, and your LFC stands for lifted free level of free convection, or lifted free convective level. So once the parcel gets above that LFC, it's ready to go. It rises without much support because it's very buoyant. The atmosphere is warmer than the surrounding air. And so it's buoyant, it lifts, right? And the narrower this LFC and LCL are, basically the air is more saturated. There's not much inversion. There's no convective inhibition here, even so it does theoretically show some inhibition. I'm not seeing that here on this model at all. It is really, really unstable all the way up to the EL, which is the equilibrium level. So then, of course, you're going to find soundings like this, or hodographs. So what we look for is a curvature to that hodograph. So, what that looks like is you can see, you might see hodographs that look like this, or they kind of sickle shape and go out like that, or sometimes they kind of loop out like that. Anytime you get a curving of the hodograph like this signifies supercell development. If the warm sector would be more unstable, this is right out ahead of the line. So this is suggestive of QLCS tornadoes because, one, we have that line that's in that is going to be in place. We have the curvature here all the way up to 4 kilometers, actually up to 3 kilometers. We start out southwesterly at about 18 knots, and then we bring that up to about 60 knots just above the 1 kilometer layer, and then it veers out to the 4 kilometer at about 55 knots, and then we get a good ventilation with these storms. So assuming that if a supercell was able to develop well out ahead of this line, this would be supercellular pretty quickly because we have that veering of the wind with height. Let's pull up. Oops. One thing that they did not change is if you close out the sounding improperly, you lose everything. So let me go back there and run that again. So let's go back. I'm teaching guys, it's a little life lesson, right? I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm not killing your guys' minds tonight. And then we will get to the Arctic air, because that's going to be very important. That's going to be another news headline that we'll talk about is the Arctic air. Actually, let's go to supercell composite parameter. Let's go here to regional and click on this this sector here, and back we go again. So down there is where we have some of the concerns for storms, and then down like in northwestern Mississippi, like here, we have a supercell composite parameter of a 14. So let's see what that looks like here. Pretty much similar here, sickle-shaped hodograph, pretty much curved, good venting, nothing much different here. So some good venting here with the storms that do develop, which is why they're going to persist, of course, with eastward extent until the overnight hours. This one actually has 4-inch hail on it. Let's hope that doesn't happen, because that would be pretty destructive. Good buoyancy, good instability, all the way up to at least 50,000 feet. So some high topped convection here certainly is expected. Nice, good steep lapse rates that are going to be in place here on the order of about 7 to 7.5 degrees Celsius per 1 kilometer, which is fairly steep. Good wind shear vectors here at around 42 to 51 with the SRH, storm relative helicity, in around 3 to 400. So that is enough to get some good tornado production out of these storms. And there we go. I found the X. Found it! I didn't lose my spot in line. So, did I do good at explaining things on that? But yeah, the fundamentals here on how to read a sounding is basically this. Actually, let me pick a better sounding. Right down in here. So, how to read a sounding is the green line in meteorological terms is always your dew point line. That's your dew point lapse rate. The red line is your actual temperature lapse rate. So temperatures are cooling aloft quickly. That's the temperature line going to the left. And then the white line is your virtual, your environmental lapse rate parcel. So when lifting a parcel from the dry adiabatic lapse rate, which is always steeper than the moist adiabatic lapse rate. So it's this line right here. It's going to be steeper. Actually, let me zoom in. So this is your dry adiabatic lapse rate. And this is your moist adiabatic lapse rate that is less steeper, which explains why convection is possible on Earth's atmosphere because of this principle that is involved. And then wherever that lapse rate, this environmental lapse rate, meets this red line, then it becomes stable. So this is stable above the EL, which is the equilibrium level, and then this is unstable. All throughout in here, let me color this in. So this is all unstable from right about in here all the way up to the EL. That makes sense. And then your hodograph is a signature on do supercells organize and mature and develop mesocyclones, that sort of thing. Okay. So, did I do good at explaining things? Yes. Heidi said yes. That's good. Because we are going to be talking about the Arctic air. That's going to be another big news headline. Big news headline. I'm not saying that just to get views. I mean, we're talking some of the coldest air for sure this winter season. Thank you. I'm glad I did good. Sweet. 5 more likes to 200. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. If you guys are new to the channel and you do like the conversation, you like the interaction, you like everything about this, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hitting the like button, and also sharing this. You guys are awesome. You guys are. Are blizzard conditions possible with this winter storm? I would say so. I would say like in Michigan, northern Ohio, blizzard conditions are certainly a possibility. And thank you for asking that question. So yes, there is going to be the concern here for blizzard conditions, especially over the upper Great Lakes into the extreme northeast as well as southern Canada. I don't think we'll see blizzard conditions in Ohio or southern Indiana or most of Indiana, just because I think the winds are not going to be strong enough, nor will the snowfall rates be heavy enough. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do surprise us and they issue a blizzard warning. So yes, that is a possibility. All right, so let's move on and let's talk about the Arctic air, because that is going to be a big news headline making event. If I can get to temperature anomalies, because we're going to need to use that too. So First, we're going to look at your actual air temperatures, and we're going to compare that against our wind chill values and our temperature anomalies, because it's going to be awfully dangerous. This is going to be one of the worst Arctic outbreaks for the northern tier, for much of the nation, perhaps, so far this winter season, and it could be the worst in a few years at least. So as we move this forward, this is from the Euro, okay? The more trusted weather forecasting model out of others out there. Euro tends to be the most accurate one out there for numerical weather prediction. So as we go forward here into Monday morning, actually, let's back it out because I'm ahead of myself. So, of course, we have this system. Going to bring temperatures in the 30s. Don't let that fool you because the colder air is going to come in on the backside of this. And take a look at this. Temperatures, single digits. Say hello to winter for Sunday morning. And then, yeah, got negative 24 over here in Montana. And then look at this. Gonna even get colder than that for Monday morning. Some areas here, I know it's hard to see there. Let me zoom in on this. Okay, I thought my mouse cursor readout would get a little bit bigger. But yeah, negative 31, negative 30 here. But specifically in some of these valleys, negative 40 I have. Negative 38, negative 35. Those are actual air temperatures, folks. This is not wind chills. Not wind chills at all. And then northern Illinois, negative 4, negative 8 here in central Wisconsin, negative 20 in Minnesota. Yes. Cedar Rapids. No, wait, not Cedar Rapids. Yeah, Cedar Rapids, that is. I think got that right. Negative 2, negative 3, and then Des Moines, Iowa, negative 2, negative 4 degrees for your morning hours. And let's move this forward here. So this is for Thursday morning. Look how cold it's going to be up here again. Still negative 30, negative 40 degrees down here in, wow, look how cold it gets down here in Kansas again. 0 degrees for your Tuesday morning, not Thursday morning, Tuesday morning. Wisconsin, negative 18. Iowa, negative 19. And look, the concern here is it's not going to warm up at all in some of these areas. Not by much. You would stay in the negative territory all day long. And then it stays cold. It stays cold. But there's going to be a reinforcement of that colder air coming in. Now, interestingly, down here in Texas, watch what happens down here. So we have Texas selected here. Watch this. So daytime highs in the 60s all the way down to 20 degrees. And then if you are in, say, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, 54 to 60 degrees during the day, gets down to 15 degrees for Wednesday morning. Yeah, that's a cold front for you. That is a true cold front. My goodness. Yeah, Texas going to go from summer weather, in fact, some areas down here in the 90s, right down into the 30s. Yeah, it's going to be really cold. Indianapolis, really cold as well for Thursday morning, as cold as 4 degrees. Yes, 4 degrees. That's not your wind chill, sadly. I wish it was your wind chill because it wouldn't be that cold, evidently, then. But it is not. It is your actual air temperature. And then really cold down here. Look at Oklahoma, you all. And I want you all to say, oh, wow. I love your guys' oh, wows. Please put that in the chat. Negative 2 degrees. Negative 2 in mid to late February. It's almost March, folks. It's almost springtime, and it's negative 2 degrees. Yeah. Yeah, negative 2 down there. Single digits in northern Texas. You got negative 12 in southwestern Missouri. Man, it's going to be cold. Sometimes I want to live back in the Midwest, but this is one of those times I don't want to move back there at all just because of how cold it's going to be. And then look at this. It might even, actually, it's going to be even colder perhaps for some locations Friday morning. Look at this. Right down into the teens perhaps in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. wow, it's going to be cold. And then still in the negative temperatures over here. And some areas don't get above 0 degrees during the day. Still, and then should get above 0 finally by Friday during the day, but still going to be cold. It is still going to be chilly for the next several days over here in the plains. So I really hope you're ready for this, because it is going to be dangerous. Extreme cold warnings will be issued. I guarantee those will be the thing. You'll see a lot of blue on your screen or on the weather map in days to come. So big news headline. Now, you want to know what's worse? You guys want to know what's worse? Put it in the chat if you know if you know what's worse. If you guys want to know what's worse, put it in the chat. See if you guys know what we're going to talk about next. Yeah, the weather is out of whack. Yeah. The winds? Nope. It's not the snow and ice. It's going to be the wind chills, my guys. It's going to be the wind chills. Wait until you see the wind chills. I looked at them already, and you will be freaking out. You will literally freak out. And I don't want to say that just to get your guys' attention, but like seriously, watch this. Watch these wind chills. Okay, -10, -20. Yes, we can get with that, right? But what about -57? Some areas up here in extreme northern North Dakota, -59 degrees. And if you're in Canada, -67-degree wind chills. Yeah, -67-degree wind chills. Exceptionally cold. Extremely cold. And it continues. Let's put this into motion even further. Still cold. -49, -50-degree wind chills. And it looks like, so it's mainly up here where we're going to see the most dangerous wind chills. In Montana as well. -59, -55, -56 is what it's going to feel like outside. So this is where we are going to be looking at some really, really dangerous wind chills out of this. And look at southern Texas. Look how cold it gets, or how cold it's going to feel. -10 it's going to feel like outside. And this continues. Specifically here, it's going to feel like 8 degrees. 8 degrees it's going to feel like in Houston, Texas. Corpus Christi, it might feel like 8 degrees too. -6 degrees in Dallas, Texas. Oh my goodness. -25 to -30-degree wind chills in Missouri, Kansas, as well as Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois. That's dangerous. That is, I mean, I thought when it got down to 24 the other morning where I live, it was a few mornings ago, I thought that was cold with the frost. Actually, I wanted to show you that really quickly. Our frosty morning that we had, the lawn was as white as it could ever be. Look at how white the lawn was, my lawn. All that frost. Yeah, that's 24-degree temperatures in the morning. And that was on Tuesday last week, or this last Tuesday. So yeah, it is going to be very cold. Dangerous wind chills, wind chill warnings, or not wind chill warnings, extreme cold warnings, extreme cold watches, cold weather advisories will definitely be the thing. You'll hear a lot about that this entire week because it's going to be cold. And boy, with cold air moving over the Great Lakes here, that could lead to more additional freezing over of any lakes that haven't frozen over all the way yet. Yeah, 1 degree in Memphis, -1 actually, not 1 degree above 0, -1, -2 degrees in Memphis, Tennessee, -5 in Nashville, Tennessee. Indianapolis, this would be for Friday morning, -11. In many areas up here in Minnesota and Iowa, it's -27 degrees. It's going to be really bad. But really, if you're in the Dakotas and Minnesota, especially Monday morning, Tuesday morning, and Wednesday morning, wind chill values -40 to -60 degrees are a possibility. Well, -40 a guarantee in North Dakota. That's 100% gonna end up happening. See what the Canadian model shows. I'm curious with what the Canadian shows. Oh my gosh, Canadian. Okay, Canadian. Oh my goodness, Canadian. Is that the lowest the wind chill actually gets? Can it get even colder than -70? I don't think it even can. Interesting. So it's off the charts here. -70-degree wind chills in northernmost North Dakota on the Canadian model. Yeah, that's dangerous. That is serious. If you believe the Canadian model, yeah, that's -50-degree wind chills in Iowa and the Dakotas and southern Minnesota. And that would be brutal. Look at this. This would be total brutalness in much of the lower 48. If you just put a lot of trust into the Canadian, it would want -3-degree wind chills. Yeah, -3 or 0-degree wind chills in Houston, Texas. That's very aggressive. I don't think we're going to get wind chills that low, but yeah, that would be a new big news headline maker right there. I mean, look at this. Everywhere with wind chill values. Like seriously, every area east of the Rockies except for Florida has single digit or negative or single digit or negative double-digit wind chills. Yeah, so yeah, we're not done. This is going to be the concern. Now let's take a look at our wind chill or our temperature anomalies. Now that we talked about that, so that's something to be concerned about too this week. Not just the flooding or the heavy snowfall with this winter storm that's going to be moving across the Great Lakes into the Northeast, but it's going to be the colder air that's going to drop in behind this. Another Arctic invasion. And I wanted to show you all what the AO is going to do during that period as well. So look at these temperature anomalies on the Euro. Look at how low these get. 40 to 50 degrees below average temperatures. In some areas, it might even be 50 degrees or greater below average. And then that moves into the deep south, and it stays cold like that. Actually, some areas up here, are even close to 60 degrees below average. In Montana, 60 degrees below average. That would be historic, more than likely going to happen if the Euro keeps this up. The Canadian model, let's see what the Canadian model wants. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, about 40 to 50 degrees below normal. So yeah, record cold for sure. It's going to be horrible. Going to be a horrible summer. Why would it be horrible, Sammy? You don't like the warm weather, huh? You're going to like this cold weather. So something to consider over the next several days is, boy, this Arctic air will be a big deal. By no means at all. Let's look at our teleconnections. I wanted to show you all the teleconnections really quickly too. All right, I guess that's not going to capture the whole thing. Look at how negative our AO is going to be. So negative, almost -6 here. Super, super negative, not even positive at all. And then it goes way up here by the end of February. It gets pretty positive, and then it might dip again by the first part of March. So yeah, very negative AO is going to be in place. And that's going to be the reasoning why it's going to be so dang cold in the United States, because all that colder air is going to just be dumping southward. But there is a general agreement that there is going to be a positive AO as we go into early March or late February, early March. And that should help moderate things a whole lot. But that's going to be the big deal. So do you guys have any questions at all? Now that we talked about everything, I think I digested everything. Boy, it took me an hour and a half to do all of that. I warned you all it's going to take that a long time to do all of that. So we talked about the rainfall. We talked about the snow, the severe weather side. We talked about the strong winds and everything. How much snow is Wichita, Kansas going to see? Okay, so Wichita, Kansas. Okay, there's Wichita. See, my brain's not working well tonight. So Wichita, Kansas. Let's go to the Central Plains for that reasoning. So Wichita, Kansas. Let me actually look at the national blend of models, because that's going to give me a general idea. You're not going to see snow at all. Biblo, swagging, thank you for the $2 donation. Partner, I do appreciate this, the first super chat. Chance that north of Albany doesn't turn to sleet. There's always a chance of that not happening. It just depends on the amount, how persistent that inversion is, and how much warm air advection is able to shape up in that area. But there's always a chance it just is freezing rain. But you will start off with some snow, of course. It'll be snow, then sleet, then some freezing rain. And yeah, you might even get some rain briefly before it switches back over to snow, once that cooler air wraps all the way around and moves back in. What's up, Mitchell? How are you doing? What's in store for Florida? What's up, Diana? So for Florida, northern Florida, you're going to get some severe weather, but by the time this gets into central Florida, it's just going to be a little bit of a shower, and that's all you're going to see. Colder air behind this, but wow, out ahead of this, Florida is going to definitely be warm. In this upper 70s to lower 80s for sure. Going to feel like mid-spring. What about Utah? So portions of Utah are on the map here on the national blend of models. So portions of your area, Diana, could get about 2 inches all the way up to 9 inches of snow. Which, by the way, how has the weather been in your area, Diana? You're getting our storm system today, aren't you? I think you're getting, yeah, you are getting our storm. Yep. Well, you're getting what is left with our storm. And actually, you're going to get more snow, it looks like, through Monday. Lucky you, not for my area. We're done with our wild weather. And then, yeah, not to mention, we are going to need to watch this little guy down here. This one, this next winter storm could be prolific if it makes that hard left turn into the northeast and becomes a nor'easter. So that would be our next system to really watch. And what an Arctic high that is. That is definitely a strong Arctic high, 1,054 millibar system. That is going to have a lot of wind with it, boy. I'm telling you. Woof. Be a windy storm. Yeah, talk about the next one. So yeah, I'm going to briefly talk about this one right in here. And you want to know what's awesome about the Pivotal Weather beta version? I could actually use the Euro actual rainfall forecast. And I can zoom in. Yeah, tonight's Valentine's Day, folks. And so I'm taking my grandma out to dinner, a nice dinner that we're going to eat at. We might eat at Black Bear Diner or Pietro's. Good place to eat, right? To take your grandmother out for Valentine's Day. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So yeah, the second system is right in here, and there's gonna be snow and there could be blizzard conditions because look at that gradient. That is a really tight pressure gradient that sets up with this winter storm. And then it moves into, oh wait, I need the 18Z run. There we go. There's our 18Z run. More accurate now. So there's our winter storm developing in the high plains, and this would be for Wednesday. And then another system, or the same system, moves into the deep south. This could bring more severe weather, maybe right along the coast here of the Gulf of America, and then moves into the northeast. And now, depending on where this turns, where it turns, if the low, which is going to be right about in here, the surface low develops here, and if it tracks and goes up like this, that's going to be a phenomenal snowstorm. That's going to be a pretty impactful storm when it develops. And so, as we zoom closer here so I can get that on screen, there it is. Oh my. This is the 18Z Euro. Holy cow. Okay, I didn't even go that far out on pivotal weather. Oh, that's a nor'easter. That's a big nor'easter. Holy moly. So yeah, that would be a system to really, really watch. That is on my bucket list to really monitor. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. There it is. That's going to be the system to really watch right there. That is going to be a system of the year, probably. The way it sets up like that. That's a deep cyclone. Look how deep that is. And this is the 18Z run. Let's see what the 12Z run showed. Okay, the 12Z was pretty similar. Boy, yeah, where this sets up, boy, if this gets close enough and moves northeast like this, that deepens pretty quickly. That really takes a whole bombing cyclone look. So, I'm not going to get to snowfall totals on that yet. Well, actually, can I go to snowfall totals? I think I can. Okay, yeah, so we can look at snowfall totals per 6 hours. This is the 18Z run at 15 inches per 6 hours, which means your 24-hour snowfall totals, if we just look at the 12Z run, yeah, there's 2 feet on the ground with that. There's 2 feet of snow on the ground with that winter storm. Yeah, some areas even get 30 inches. So if it develops as what the model is showing, that will be a huge headline maker. So yeah, and something I just realized. See, I've been so focused on this system developing that I didn't even really pay second nature to what comes in on Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, looks like we're gonna have another major snowstorm for the Northeast. So, yeah, very active pattern. I'll tell you that. I want to take a look at the winds on that too. That's a really tight pressure gradient. See 925 millibar winds on that, because that is pretty substantial. Oh yeah, hurricane force winds on that son of a gun. Oh, yeah, big time. So that will be a storm to really watch. That is a system. And it has pretty good dynamics to work with. Nice, good divergent flow loft, jet stream, dynamics, lift. Yeah. So Thursday, David, Thursday morning at 1:45 Eastern, I heard what sounded like thunder going or a bomb going off. So if there's a temperature inversion, thunder is actually louder when there's colder air at the surface, and it sounds differently. Based on what I've been told, I've never experienced it myself, so I don't know. But it has to do with temperature inversions and temperature dynamics and stuff like that. I want to see the model trend on this, so I can look at model trend, folks, and I could actually look at. Yeah, so this is the model trend over the last few model runs. And recently, this has been trending closer to New York. 1, 2, yeah, this is like the third model run. So that is a system we're going to need to watch for sure if that trend continues. When am I going to do my spring forecast? Oh my goodness. I'm going to try to get something out. I honestly am not really into spring as I am into the fall and winter. I seem to be doing really good at winter forecasts, so I'll probably hold on to that for now. Besides, I have so much schoolwork and schoolwork stuff to do, so it is really time consuming to make the maps and stuff. Not that I don't want to make the maps, it's just it takes me like a week to put everything together. A whole week. So I'm going to be streaming here for another 5 or so minutes. I have to head off because I'm taking my grandma out for Valentine's dinner. I want to ask you guys, what are you guys doing? Well, it's actually, 9:43, so you probably are not out and about anymore. What are you doing for Valentine's Saturday? Or what are you doing for Valentine's Friday? Or Friday night, I should say. GFS shows a more southern trend. Let's look at that. Interesting. Yeah, the GFS is that is southern. Let's see what the last few runs showed. I notice it's moving around a lot more though than the Euro. Euro seems to have a better handle on it. But yeah, it's a system we are really going to need to watch very closely. Let's see what the Canadian shows. I'm interested now at looking at the Canadian. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, see, the general trend is looking more snowy for the Northeast. And that would be for... Oh, this would be for Thursday and a Saturday. Oh, you watched the new Captain America? Nice. By the way, I want to wish you all happy Valentine's Day because you guys are special. Oh, wait, this is the latest run. Am I showing things right? I want to make sure I am. Okay, this is the 12Z run. Yeah, look at how much closer this is. This is the Northeast right here. Look how much closer that is. That is a big snowstorm. Nice, Pat. New NAM 3 kilometer more bullish with snow. See, I'm not gonna. I got, I'm starting a new format with national blended model stuff. I'm not looking at really any specific model run just because there is inconsistencies. I mean, look at this. Actually, it's not as bullish with snowfall. Maybe for your localized area, but for the overall system, it's not as bullish, actually. At least over Michigan. That's why I'm glad I'm using the national blend for a reason. And I would highly recommend a lot of you to use that too, because it's a blend of all different models instead of looking at just one model. National Weather Service uses it all the time, at least in Sacramento they do. But yeah, this is a storm that we are going to need to watch right here for the Thursday and Friday timeframe. Mitchell, I have not been to school for meteorology yet. I know I've got a lot of high demand about that recently in the last year. That have I been to school for meteorology? No, I have not. Which tells me you all want me to go to school for meteorology, but you don't need to be a meteorologist to know a lot about the weather. You really don't. It's just a certificate. That's all you're getting. That's really all you're getting. A certificate of meteorological degree. Okay. Because if I mean, I don't want any hard feelings to you guys saying, "Oh, he's not a meteorologist. He doesn't know what he's talking about." I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this longer. I've been doing this for over 20 years, so you guys can trust me. Oh, okay, Mitchell. Sweet. Yeah, I know if you watched my whole stream so far today, you heard me explaining things that you guys don't even understand. Do you guys know what vorticity is? Probably half of you guys don't, half of you guys do, which is normal of an audience. Vorticity is actually spin in the atmosphere, how much energy there is, upper level spin. Do you think we can get that much snow in Baltimore? So, with the second system, it's possible, but per NBM forecast, you're only looking at about 2 to 5 inches of snow. You're not looking at a whole lot of snow per NBM forecast. And that far out, I'm going to look at ensembles. Yeah, see? So there's a lot of moving around still to go. Let's see what the probability of snow of 6 or more inches in your area are with that storm. So you are looking at least a 50% chance of at least 6 inches of snow in Baltimore, with a 10 to 20% chance of seeing at least a foot. Because I don't want to use one individual model run and be like, oh, there's going to be 4 feet of snow coming, or okay, there's 2 feet on this run, because it's going to waggle, right? Models are not forecasts, they're guidance. Like you can see here, look at this, look at the Canadian model. Oops, let me zoom in. right here. Look at this. Look how this has changed over time. It's been moving all over. It's been moving all around. And we got to see consistencies first on how things evolute. Okay. Spencer, Indiana weather. Mitchell is asking. Spencer. And then I have to go. It's not that I don't want to not talk to you guys. I actually have to take my grandma out for Valentine's dinner. Probably have a picture on my community post on that later on this evening. So Spencer, Indiana, let's see for that area. So you're looking at about... So you're looking at more rain and some ice out of this. A glaze of ice, but mainly a rainfall event for your area. About 1 to 3 inches of rain. I will. I'll let her know that you said hi. Yeah, a lot of people are already on top of that snowstorm. A lot of attention grabbing on that, which is good because we will be updating you all on that. And you want to know the good news? You guys want to know the good news? You guys want to know the surprise that's coming? Guess what it is? I want you all to... Thank you, Mitchell. You guys want to know some good news this week? Want to know the good news? I hope we get snow in Tennessee. Well, I hope so too for you, but yeah, you will get some snow at least. Which is funny because you're getting all this rain and then you're going to get all this snow. Some snow at least. I guess you guys don't want to know the surprise. Okay, that's fine. Luca heard me. Okay, sweet. No snow in South Carolina, right? Maybe something for South Carolina. I'm not guaranteeing it, though. Not guaranteeing it this far out yet. That's a big Arctic high. Look how strong that high is, by the way. That could be the Luca high or the George Smith Arctic high. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Nope. I'm only working Sunday and Monday this week, next week. So I'm only working at my second job on the 16th and 17th. So I get 6 days off. So I'm all of your guys' attention for the rest of the week. So, yes. But that is not because of YouTube. It's because of my schoolwork. Because my work is impacting my schoolwork of what I'm doing. And so I had to ask my boss that, can you guys cut back on my hours and squish in my hours for so I could have 2 long shifts instead of having all these short shifts and 4 days a week, So it's mainly because of school, not because of YouTube, because I'm graduating in early May. That's when I'm supposed to be graduating, and I have 2 whole courses to go. I mean, I have so much to do. I have so much. Yeah. I'm from California, Mitchell. Thank you for asking. I mean, look at this. Hold on. So this is what I have. Okay. So I have all of this to do. So, as you know, I did U.S. History A, Government, I did everything. I know I shouldn't be showing this on the stream, but yeah, I have all of this to do. I'm almost there for my test, and then I have all of this. This is Unit 2. This is Unit 3 of U.S. History B. Okay. And all of this, and all of this. And then I have World History A and World History B, and each unit has at least 20 lessons. So if I knocked out 5 lessons a day, that takes me 4 days to finish up a unit. So I'm not going to be done at least until early May or late April. It might seem like, oh, you'll get done before that, David. I have faith in you. My teacher's saying the same thing. You'll get done by late April. I'm like, I don't know. Depends on how fast I move. And I'm already behind. You saw the red circle. I'm already behind because of the active weather that I had in California. It knocked me behind. So I'm really stressing out about that right now. You don't know how much I'm stressing about school right now. It's so much that I actually had to tell my boss that you're going to have to cut back my hours. I'm going to have limitation on my hours. I know I'll get through it, but oh my gosh, it's just stressful, dude. It's not easy. It's not easy. And this is to get my diploma. So I can then go to college, because I can't go to college until I have my diploma. But it's one step closer to getting my degree, I'll tell you that right now. And I'm not doing it because I want to get my degree. No, I'm doing it because you guys want me to get my weather degree. But I'll tell you this, 4 years. It takes me 4 years to get my meteorological degree, at least. 3 or 4 years, something like that. What's up, Broken Wing? So don't expect me to have a certificate in weather for an estimation of about 5 or 6 years. Yeah, it's going to be a while. I'm not a baby. Love Tina. Oh my gosh, you're funny. You got this. And the thing that's really hard is finding. This is how I am when I'm in school. Like, when I'm doing my test, it's like I'm looking through. This is basically how it is. Where's the answer? Oh, I can't do this. It is frustrating. It really is. But I gotta do it. If I don't do it, I will never graduate. Yeah, Jane Grammar, it's going to be 6 years. 6 to almost 7 years. Don't expect it. Don't expect me to have my meteorological degree tomorrow or a month from now. All right. All right, you guys, I'm going to have to head out. I love you guys. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I will be back tomorrow. Afternoon. Okay, at around 3 or 4 o'clock, because I do work in the morning. I won't be off until 2, and then I won't be home till about 2:15. Create the stream and then go live. We will be tracking the winter side of this storm and the severe weather side. So we got both sides to track with you all in tomorrow's live stream. As always, happy Valentine's Day. Love you guys a lot. And I will be back with you guys more tomorrow. Peace out. Bup. I love you guys. I love you guys. You guys are awesome.